Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real tonight. You can talk all day about love, gifts, and grand gestures, but when it comes down to it, there's one thing that every man wants to hear, and only about 1% of women ever say it. See, men might act tough. They might walk around like they got it all figured out. But deep down, that man just wants to know one thing, that he's appreciated. That what he's doing means something, that somebody sees him trying. Men crave appreciation more than they admit. Now, that right there might sound simple, but it's one of the deepest truths about a man's heart. See, men walk around with this armor on, strong, confident, collected, but behind all that toughness is a person who's fighting to be enough. Every man, no matter how old, successful, or confident he looks, has that quiet voice in the back of his mind asking, am I doing good enough? Does anybody see what I'm trying to do? That's why appreciation hits so deep. It's not just a compliment. It's confirmation. It's that little reminder that all the effort, all the work, all the sacrifices are actually worth something to somebody. A lot of people think men are all about ego, but that's not it. A man's ego isn't just pride, it's his engine. It's what drives him to build, to lead, to take care of the people he loves. But when that engine runs on empty, when no one appreciates his effort, it starts to break down. That's when men start to distance themselves, get quiet, or lose their spark. They're not angry, they're empty, because appreciation for a man is like oxygen. You can't see it, but you'll feel it the moment it's gone. Ladies, let me tell you something. When you show appreciation to your man, you're not just being nice. You're feeding his soul. You're giving him energy to keep fighting those battles life throws at him. You tell him, I see how hard you work, or thank you for being there for me. And suddenly that man's chest rises a little higher. He walks a little taller, because appreciation tells a man he's valued. And when a man feels valued, there's nothing he won't do for you. Men aren't out here looking for perfection. They're looking for peace. They're looking for a place where they don't have to prove themselves over and over again. You'd be surprised how powerful a few genuine words can be. When you appreciate him for the small things, taking out the trash, fixing something around the house, showing up on a hard day, you're not just praising the action, you're reinforcing his purpose. And when a man feels like his purpose matters, he becomes unstoppable. Now, here's the truth. Most men won't tell you they need appreciation because society has taught them that needing anything emotional makes them weak. But deep down, every man wants to feel that his effort isn't being overlooked. He may not say it, but he feels it. He feels it when you notice, and he feels it when you don't. And when you start recognizing him, really recognizing him, it changes the entire dynamic. You stop being just his partner and you become his safe place. You become the one person who refuels him when the world drains him. Appreciation doesn't cost you a thing, but it pays out in loyalty, effort, and love, because when a man knows that his woman truly sees him, he'll give her everything he's got gladly, willingly, and without hesitation. And that's the quiet truth behind why men crave appreciation more than they'll ever admit. Respect is a man's deepest emotional need. It's not just something he wants, it's something he lives for. You can give a man love, affection, and even loyalty, but if he doesn't feel respected, none of it will ever reach his heart the way you intend. See, respect to a man is what water is to a plant. It keeps him alive inside. It fuels him, shapes his confidence, and gives him the strength to stand tall even when life tries to break him down. When a man feels respected, he feels like he's winning. But when that respect is missing, it cuts him deeper than most people realize. A lot of women confuse love with respect. You can love a man and still talk to him in a way that makes him feel small. You can say you care, but if your tone tears him down, that love gets lost in translation. Men are wired to respond to respect. It's how they interpret love. You don't even have to say, I love you every day. Sometimes just saying, I trust your judgment, or I believe in your ability to handle this, hits a man harder than any 3 words ever could. Respect speaks directly to his sense of worth, to that inner drive that tells him he's capable, he's strong, and he's needed. Now, here's the thing, respect doesn't mean you agree with everything he does or stay quiet when he's wrong. It means you correct him with grace, not with humiliation. It means you still talk to him like the man you admire, not like the boy you're scolding. Men don't respond to nagging, criticism, or sarcasm. They shut down. But when you speak to a man with respect, you bring the best out of him. You give him room to grow, to rise, and to lead with confidence. Respect inspires responsibility. You treat a man like a king, and 9 times out of 10, he'll start acting like one. Ladies, men go through things they rarely talk about. They carry the weight of expectations, pressure, and fear of failure. The world doesn't always respect them, but when they come home, they want to feel like their home is a place of peace, not another battlefield. When a man feels respected at home, he doesn't have to wear armor there. He can finally rest, breathe, and just be himself. That's why men are drawn to women who make them feel capable, trusted, and appreciated. It's not about control, it's about connection. A man who feels respected will give you his loyalty, his effort, and his heart, because respect tells him he's valued for who he is, not just what he does. And when you show that kind of understanding, you don't just earn his love, you earn his devotion. Respect is the language that every man hears, even when he can't find the words to ask for it. And when a woman learns to speak that language, she doesn't just touch a man's mind, she touches his soul. Simple words can build a man's confidence for life. It doesn't take grand speeches or perfect timing. Just the right words spoken with sincerity can change how a man sees himself. Men might not show it, but they hold on to the words spoken by the people they love, especially the woman they care about. When a woman tells a man, I'm proud of you, or you handled that really well, that statement becomes a memory that sits deep in his heart. He'll think about it when he's tired, when he's uncertain, and when the world is making him question himself. Your words become his fuel. They remind him that he's capable, that someone believes in him, and that he's not walking alone. The truth is, men don't get praised often. They're expected to be strong, to lead, to protect, to fix, but not to feel. Society teaches men to hide their emotions, so when they finally hear something uplifting, it cuts through all that silence and sinks in. Simple words like, "I see how hard you're trying," or "You're doing an amazing job," can do more than boost his ego. They build his foundation. They create confidence that lasts far beyond the moment, because when a man knows that someone believes in him, he starts believing in himself even more. Think about it. Most men grew up hearing what they needed to do, not who they were. Work harder, be tougher, don't cry. So when a woman comes into his life and gives him encouragement instead of criticism, she becomes a rare kind of peace for him. You don't have to fix his problems, just speak life into him. Tell him you've got this, or you always find a way. Those small sentences might sound ordinary to you, but to him, they can be the reason he doesn't give up on a dream. And let's be real, men remember the words that broke them just as much as the ones that built them. Harsh, careless words from someone he loves can sit in his mind for years. That's why it's so important to be intentional with what you say. You can either feed his strength or starve his confidence. The choice is yours every time you open your mouth. Because the truth is, you can't tell a man you love him and then tear him down with your words. It doesn't work like that. Love needs to sound like encouragement. It needs to sound like belief. When you speak positivity into a man's life, it changes the way he carries himself. You'll notice he stands taller, smiles more, dreams bigger, because your voice becomes his reassurance that he's doing something right. That's how powerful words are. You don't have to be poetic. You just have to be real. A few honest words of affirmation can become the difference between a man who doubts himself and a man who believes he can do anything. And that kind of confidence built by love, trust, and faith can last a lifetime. Women underestimate the power of verbal affirmation. It's one of the most overlooked tools in a relationship, yet it has the power to completely shift a man's mindset, his energy, and his connection with the woman he loves. See, men aren't mind readers. They don't always know how you feel unless you tell them. And while women often crave emotional expression and communication, they forget that men need it too, but in a different way. Men crave reassurance through words that make them feel valued, respected, and capable. When a woman gives that kind of affirmation, it doesn't just boost a man's mood for a moment. It strengthens his identity. A man can have everything going for him, but if the woman he loves never acknowledges his effort, he'll start to question whether what he's doing even matters. It's not because he's weak. It's because words hold power. Words build or break. A man who feels verbally affirmed becomes a man who leads with confidence and peace. He starts performing better at work, taking more initiative, and becoming more emotionally available. Because when a man feels emotionally secure with his woman, he gives his best self without fear of rejection or judgment. But when he's starved of affirmation, he starts to retreat. He'll work harder, but he won't feel fulfilled. He'll show up, but not with the same spark. Ladies, sometimes you think, he already knows I appreciate him. But he doesn't, not if you don't say it. Men don't assume love. They feel it through appreciation and respect. You could do everything right in a relationship, but if you never speak life into your man, he'll feel unseen. And the sad part is, most men won't even tell you that. They'll just go quiet. They'll start to wonder if their presence really matters. But when you take the time to speak encouragement, when you say, you make me feel safe, or you're doing such a great job, that man starts to see himself the way you see him. That's the power of verbal affirmation. It reshapes how he views his own worth. Now, let's be honest. Most people underestimate how much influence a woman's voice has over her man. The right words can inspire him to dream bigger, to try harder, to love deeper. Your tone, your timing, your sincerity, it all matters. You don't have to flatter him or lie. You just have to be genuine. Tell him when you notice his effort. Tell him when you're proud. Those words don't fade, they echo. They stay with him when he's stressed, when he's uncertain, when the world is telling him he's not enough. Your voice becomes his strength in silence. Verbal affirmation isn't just communication, it's connection. It tells a man that he's not just wanted but appreciated. It turns love into partnership and effort into purpose. When a woman learns to use her words as tools of encouragement instead of weapons of frustration, she doesn't just build a better man, she builds a stronger bond, because no matter how independent or confident a man is, the words from the woman he loves will always carry more weight than the opinions of the whole world. Love without validation feels incomplete to a man. You can say you love him, you can show up for him, you can even sacrifice for him, but if he never feels seen or validated for what he gives, that love starts to lose its meaning in his heart. Men are doers by nature. They express love through action by providing, fixing, protecting, showing up. But behind every action is a quiet hope that what they're doing is being noticed and appreciated. When that validation never comes, it's like working hard in silence with no acknowledgement. Eventually, even the strongest man starts to question whether his effort matters at all. Validation is not about ego, it's about recognition. It's the emotional paycheck for all the work he puts into the relationship. When a woman validates her man, she's not feeding his pride, she's affirming his purpose. You tell him, I'm grateful for what you do. And suddenly, that man feels 10 feet tall. You tell him, I feel safe with you. And he feels powerful in the right way, not controlling, but capable. That kind of validation gives a man peace. It reassures him that he's doing something right, that he's living up to the role he's working so hard to fill. The truth is, men rarely get that kind of affirmation from the world. Out there, he's judged by what he earns, how strong he appears, or how much he can handle without breaking. But when he comes home, when he's with the woman he loves, he doesn't want to perform, he wants to be understood. That's where validation becomes everything. It's not about flattery or pretending. It's about genuinely acknowledging his efforts, his heart, and his intentions. When you tell him, I see how much you're trying, or you did great today, you give him the emotional safety he won't admit he needs. And when a man feels validated, he naturally gives more. He becomes more loving, more attentive, more expressive, because he finally feels like it's safe to be vulnerable. Men don't open up to everyone. They open up to the one who makes them feel valued without judgment. But when there's no validation, that emotional door starts to close. He starts to keep his thoughts to himself, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't feel like his emotions will be met with appreciation. Validation builds emotional trust. It creates an invisible bond that says, you matter to me, not just for what you do, but for who you are. And that's what keeps love alive, because love isn't just about being together, it's about being seen. You can love a man deeply, but if he doesn't feel validated, he'll feel distant even when you're standing right next to him. But when you validate him, when you look him in the eyes and tell him he's doing a good job, that you notice his effort, something shifts. That man starts to glow differently. He carries your words with him into everything he does. And that's how validation turns ordinary love into lasting devotion. The right words can turn an ordinary relationship into an unbreakable bond. It's not always about what you buy, what you post, or how perfect everything looks on the outside. Real connection comes down to communication. The tone, the timing, and the truth in your words determine whether love grows or fades. You can have two people who care deeply about each other, but if they don't speak the right words to nurture that love, the relationship will start to lose its warmth. Words are energy. They can either heal or harm. The right words can calm a storm, rebuild trust, and inspire hope where pain once lived. That's how powerful they are. When you speak life into your partner, you create a space where both of you can thrive. A man especially responds to the tone of the woman he loves. The way she talks to him can either make him want to come closer or make him shut down completely. When she uses words that uplift, affirm, and appreciate, he feels safe to open up and be himself. But when her words are harsh, dismissive, or filled with criticism, it breaks something inside him, even if he never says it out loud. The right words don't mean you avoid the truth. They mean you deliver it with care. You can correct someone without crushing them. You can express frustration without disrespect. That's emotional maturity, and that's what builds lasting love. The truth is, relationships fail not because two people stop loving each other, but because they stop communicating with compassion.